a lot of pushback we get is like, oh, humans are naturally, just want to take the path of least resistance. And that will be true for a lot of people. And so I think it's understanding that you're not going to help everyone at the end of the day. There are people who don't want to live this way. And I think the sheer number of people who already are trying to do something is just massive. I think there's going to need to be more convincing over time. And I think that's a combination of creating awareness of the problem, but also creating a compelling solution.
The water's fine, homie, jump into the deep end. So it you will reap it. We're talking how to start it, how to grow it, how to keep it. Take a deep breath. You are now rocking with Founder Secrets.
Yo, welcome to Founder Secrets. We got Jack and Charles Winston. Yeah, welcome, guys. How's it going?
Great. How are you guys doing today?
It's our first time having two guests on one screen, and they're brothers. You're not twins, are you?
No.
Nope.
We're a year apart. We're close, though. We're close.
Very close.
We're like Irish twins.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, what made you, even before we even get into the business or the story or your backgrounds, how's it working with your brother? Like, is that a thing people should do?
Do you recommend it?
No. No, it's awesome. I mean, like, no one's closer than us. Like, we're super close. And I think it's great that we can just basically have no filter whenever we talk to each other. We fight really well, argue really well, and work through things. But yeah, I mean, we definitely are wringing each other's necks sometimes, but in a good way, in the best possible way. There's
positives and negatives, but at the end of the day, like, I could never imagine doing this with someone that wasn't my brother. It's just such, as you guys know, it's just such an emotional journey that you go on building a company, especially at the early stages where you think you're crazy and everyone else like kind of says that as well. And so having someone that you can like emotionally connect with, as well as work with, I think is invaluable. So yeah, we also live together.
Yeah, I was about to say we live together too. We're in our apartment.
What?
Yeah, together. Yeah. But we've always been best friends.
We've been best friends since we fought a little bit at middle school, then high school.
How old are you guys?
I'm 28
and I'm 26.
So we're like a year and a half apart.
I love it. So the older brother is Jack.
Yeah,
and Jack's the CEO. The younger brother's Charles. And you're the CTO.
Yep.
And I love it. I mean, Taylor has a brother. I don't. Taylor, could you imagine you could work with your brother?
No, couldn't imagine. I think he listens to the pod. So Corey, I love you. But no, it'd be tough. But I have two co-founders in this business, and we're not like brothers, but we are very close. We talk, but we don't live together. Like you all go deep. But but I have a question around. So you started this business present, and it looks really interesting. I have a very weird screen time thing where I have created screen time rules, and then I don't know the password to it. So I basically, I've tricked myself, and I've been doing this for a year and a half. I tricked myself into, I can only use social media apps 15 minutes a day. I can only use Gmail about 45 minutes a day. Internet's about 30 minutes a day. And it works because I have no way to override it, right? Because I don't know the passcode. But I love that it kind of looks like you all have taken that idea to a new level and almost gamified it. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Like, honestly, one of the reasons why we feel so confident of why we want to start this business is we heard so many stories like you, basically like creating your own solution, like tricky, like you use the word tricked yourself. Like you literally had to like trick yourself into solving this problem. And something that impacts almost everyone. We were like, wow, everyone is trying to solve this problem. Let's go out and try to, actually make a good solution so that you don't have to do like your own DIY tricks out there. And yeah, like our approach is, instead of making it as frustrating as possible to use your phone or having to trick yourself or using self-control, we actually want to motivate people and make it fun and engaging to stay off their phone. Basically replacing that dopamine hit with gamification that you used to get from scrolling with dopamine for staying off your phone.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so let's back up. Jack, what led you, like, what were you doing before that you left to
Yeah, so I was I was a consultant for EY for about 3 years. And then I was at DraftKings in marketing analytics for a year. And that's what I left to start Present. And so I never worked at a startup before, but I always had entrepreneurial dreams. Something we've talked about businesses, me and Charles, like forever. And for one reason or another, we either didn't think it was a great idea or like there was too much execution risk. You know, we ended up scrapping it. But this was the first one where we were like, the stars are aligning and we just have so much conviction in what we're doing. You know, let's quit our jobs and just do it.
Like, what was that moment? What was that thing? Like you said, you had other ideas. This is an idea. What do you think is that moment? Walk us back, like that made you pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah, so it's a couple different things, but it really was just the framework of like understanding the opportunity and the ability to execute. Right, like we think we're domain experts in the space. Like we're the oldest members of Gen Z, like the first to really grow up with smartphones, and we understand the problem intimately. And then also like we're a self-contained team. We are able to build, design, build, launch, and market our product all ourselves. And then when we just went through, like the way I thought about it was simple framework of how many people does this impact? Do they know that like it impacts them? Are they already trying to solve the problem? And how much pain does it cause? And that's kind of like that was my framework for understanding, should we pursue this idea in combination with like, can we execute? And just everything, like it was like blinking lights. Like, how could we not start this company at this time?
And it was funny because we were talking about this about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and thinking, okay, let's do something. But Apple didn't have any kind of framework to integrate with screen time. We kept thinking about how we could kind of hack a solution. And I remember about a year ago, we were at my birthday party, and because we wanted to start this business, but we're like, we don't know like how to build this yet. And he said, Apple just released the screen time API. We were like, okay, it's a sign from the universe that it's like time to do it.
That actually, President's birthday is Charles's birthday as well.
Yeah.
So like it was a combination of like just everything aligning, and then the technical ability to actually build the solution.
Huh. That's really interesting. Okay, so you left Google, Charles.
Yeah.
And Jack left E&Y. It's like $500,000 in salaries that you guys are like not making. I don't want to remind you, but I'm just saying, like, how do you like hedge your bets on that? How do you live? I remember when I first started my company, I was still consulting on the side and doing a little programming for terrible clients, but I had to do it because it was like my contingency, in case it doesn't work out. How do you think that, especially living in New York, how do you guys think through that?
When I came out of college, my only optimization in life was money. I thought that's what was going to make me happy. And I basically sacrificed so much of my life to work 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week consulting to get promoted as fast as possible. And I'm thankful for that time. But what that really showed me, I remember being miserable, and then I got promoted and I was happy for one day, and my pay, I went up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, making, at 23 years old, more than I thought I would ever make in my life. And I was just miserable the next day. And so that really showed me that what I wanted to do, it wasn't just optimizing for money. Now, I'm an entrepreneur and I want to build a great big business and have a great outcome. But at the end of the day, I realized that there was more. And so like, that's like the highest level, like kind of change in my mindset that said, Jack, it's time to actually do what you want to do and do what you believe in versus like what society kind of glorifies and just like making money. And so honestly, I don't regret any of it. Like we make basically minimum wage. We live in Brooklyn, and we cook all our own food, and we really like cut it right to the edge of like living as bare minimum as possible. And I'm 100 times happier than I was when I was, consulting, getting dinners paid for me all the time, expensing everything and making hundreds of thousands of dollars and not caring about, what I spent. And so it's really a mindset shift, and you have to believe that what you're doing is important. And you love what you do.
Exactly. Like, it's great to love what you do. Like when I was at Google, it was a great work-life balance. The culture was pretty good. It was a cushy job. I could, clock out at 5:00 and not have to think about work. But during the workday, I just didn't care at all about what I was working on, because you work on, a tiny little feature of some small product inside this giant ecosystem, which is Google. And I just felt like I had no agency and no real motivation to build what I was building there. And now going to work every day, building present, doing something that like gives me so much fire is just so much better.
And I will say, like, from a more practical perspective, like, it was tough to take the jump because I had all these, trappings of success that I was afraid to lose.
Golden handcuffs.
But when I really thought about it, it's also like, we can go back to Google. We can go back to EY at the end of the day, if that's what we need. And we also just thought this is like the least risky time to do something like this. So yeah, I still have friends at these companies. They're making a lot of money. But I really don't have any FOMO from it.
So can you talk a bit about the product? Like, how does it work? Who's the target? You mentioned things like the screen time API. If you want to speak kind of technically about how it works too, what is the product? Who's the target? How does someone use it? What's the use case? All that good stuff.
So Present is a mobile app that motivates you to develop a healthy, intentional relationship with your phone. And we do that, like, our basic key insight is to actually solve this problem. We all have a behavioral addiction. So social media companies have made our phones intentionally addictive using psychological techniques to engineer our constant engagement. But what we're doing is we're flipping the script using those same psychological techniques that keep us addicted to instead enforce healthy behaviors. Because at the end of the day, like, the techniques that social media companies use, they're not new. They're decades old. It's like all based in research and fact of habit formation. And so what we're doing is we're using those same techniques. And really what it is, a mobile app that syncs with your screen time data and incorporates features like social gamification. So like leaderboards that you can, challenge your friends or climb the global leaderboard. You earn streaks for hitting your goals. You can complete challenges. You earn points for reducing your screen time and blocking distracting apps. And then you can even redeem those points for real life rewards from our partners. So like, discounted therapy at BetterHelp, or, discounted ClassPass or free Headspace, things that can improve your life. And what that does is really just replace the dopamine hit you used to get from scrolling with dopamine for staying off your phone. And so instead of everything else that exists out there, which is like app blockers or like those
make it impossible to open my phone.
Like and so to speak to like who we're targeting, we're really targeting the younger generation. So like young millennials and Gen Zers, because those are the people. It's a real, I think, misunderstanding out there that older people, when I talk to them, think, oh, the younger kids, they don't care. They're the most addicted. We are the most addicted, but we actually care the most. We're the most impacted. We were the first generation to go through this experiment. And so we want to target that generation. But what it is also is recognizing that we're not putting the genie back in the bottle. Like, phones aren't going away. They can be incredible tools. People still want to use social media. It's all about just having an intentional relationship. And so everything else out there makes the user experience of using technology worse. That's the entire premise. It's make the user experience as bad as possible so you use it less.
But what that ends up doing is you'll just turn off the app blocking and stuff and just get sick of it and go right back to social media.
And as humans, like a core design principle of everything that's great and people want to use is that you have control over it and that you dominate it and that you feel like happy when you actually use it. And so what we're doing is we want to give people control of their life, not feel like technology is controlling them.
It's a great pitch. How does the product?
So how does it work?
How does it work? Is it locks it down?
Yeah. So basically, we track your screen time, and you get more points the lower your screen time is, and you can compete with your friends for lower screen time. And it's kind of like Duolingo, but for screen time. And you can block apps, like set time limits, block your apps, but like you lose points or you lose the game or you'll lose to your friends if you ignore those time limits. Stuff like that.
You can collect badges or streaks, like things like this for hitting certain, milestones. It's basically what we try to do is we think of like the end user experience of how someone wants to use their phone. And then we marry that with persuasive design, like that's used in all like other types of habit formation apps. To try to build an experience to like guide people to those behaviors that they actually want to engage in the first place.
And you want to use the screen time API because the screen time API actually allows you to block those apps and I guess to get that usage data so you could see which apps they are using. That's why the API was so important to you?
Exactly.
Yeah, because otherwise we would have we basically take the raw phone usage data and then build on top of that so that we can actually so users don't have to input their own screen time to keep themselves accountable. It's all automated.
Huh. And how did you, you mentioned that you do everything in-house. Did you all build this app? Like the two of you guys came together and built it and built this website? Like how did you actually get it off the ground?
Basically, like the way it started is I would just design in Figma and then put like the product spec in a Excel, and then Charles would build it. He'd figure it out because he's a great engineer. And that's how it kind of started. Now over time, it's been like has been designing more and like, more of a collaborative effort. But like to start, when he was part-time still at Google, he would just figure out the engineering and I would kind of like think through the product.
So the customer, this is like a direct consumer type of product, right? Like Taylor would pay.
Right now, yeah, exactly. I think my vision is in the future, like digital wellness. Like we're at the beginning of an inflection point. It's going to be, nutrition, physical health, sleep, and then digital wellness. Like I think that this is going to be a new pillar of health and wellness created, with this new generation maturing. And I think there's going to be a huge demand from businesses specifically as Gen Z enters the workforce and, the rise of remote work. So right now it's consumer, but I also think like there's a real economic cost to this problem that's costing employers hundreds of billions of dollars. And so that's that. So right now it's consumer, but I also think down the line, there's like a B2B kind of enterprise play as well.
How do you guys go about acquiring these consumers onto your app?
We just go where we've. The great thing about the problem that we're solving is there's incredible pull from the market. So we've actually never felt a problem with acquiring users. We just like anytime we talk to someone, they're like, "Oh, I need that. Let me download the app." Or like we go to like Reddit and we like tell people about our app. Or like we just like post.
We post on social media essentially.
Yeah,
we don't pay for ads. We post a lot on Reddit. People find us in the App Store.
Yeah. People are searching for this problem. So, and this is like a big problem for so many people getting customers. Our problem, right? Not necessarily a problem, but we haven't scaled to millions of users, but it's been easy. I don't want to say easy, but like it's been easy to get tens of thousands of users to our app because this is such a universal problem. And the key is just understanding your user and figuring out where they hang out and trying to reach them and doing things that don't scale at first. So yeah, it's been like a lot of posting on social media, on Reddit, meeting people, tapping into different communities and just telling people about what we're building, giving the value prop, and then seeing the response.
So once they're on, how often do you want them to be on? Like, is this the kind of thing you'd want to see them in the present app every day?
So it's an interesting question and something that we're still thinking through. We definitely, baseline is we are not optimized for time spent in the app. We don't think, and that's most mobile apps what they try to optimize for. And that's like where we got this in the first place. But we also don't think creating a habit and engagement is inherently bad. So we're starting from there of knowing that like engagement isn't inherently bad. Creating a daily habit, it's not bad. It's just that it's been perverted over the last decade. We think every day to check the app, to understand, like have awareness about how you're doing and getting that dopamine hit and feeling gratitude and like motivation from it, like a daily habit is best. We know a lot of people, though, they actually don't use it as much on the weekends. We see a dip in engagement and then going higher on the weekdays. So we're still figuring out exactly what is optimal for creating the best habits for people and like understanding that everyone also has different goals and they struggle with this problem differently. Like if you think about drinking, sometimes people, you need to go cold turkey or sometimes you just need to cut back from 10 beers to 3, and so it's like understanding that every user is different and then figuring out the optimal usage over time to actually solve the problem that we're having. But we think, at least weekly engagement is the minimum.
Is it paid right now? Like, do you have a paid plan or is it free right now?
Yeah, it's a freemium model. There's a pro version that allows more customization, more features.
Oh, congrats. So you guys have some revenue.
Yeah. So
yes.
What's like the percent, would you say, of free to?
We have a couple hundred paying users.
Nice.
At this point.
Congrats. And you didn't raise it. Have you raised any capital from anybody besides yourselves?
Just we went through an accelerator and then some angels that we've met, but we haven't done a full fundraising round yet. In terms of like going out there and pitching, it's really just been like people that we meet like what we're building, like us as a team, and have put in money.
And you have a safe note that that you can bring people on. Is that how you've been doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
What was the accelerator you did?
It was called ERA, Entrepreneurs Roundtable Accelerator. We actually had the holiday party, like reunion holiday party last night. It's a great community in New York City. Anyone who's like at an early stage, like very early stage, I encourage you to apply. It's a great community and you really learn a lot. And it's like a 4-month program. You do
super
it
hands-on
with 15 other companies. You all get very, very close and you learn a lot.
What do you think is like the
And
value you got out of? Oh, wait, so they fund. Well, so yeah. So what value did you get out of them? It sounds like they invested.
Yeah, they invested 100. They invest 150K for 6%. So it's kind of like the YC. It's like the YC model. And they're actually the biggest accelerator in New York, but they're like in person. So they're not. It's not like Techstars and YC where they've gone like national and they have like branches in so many different places. So it's a little bit like less well known. But like if you're in New York City, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, and I'd say the main value we got was threefold. It was great to get the funding to be able to me to quit my job. Jack had already quit his job, but it was great to bring us both on. The learning that we got from it was incredible. And then the network and the community of the alumni and the people in our cohort and the future companies, those three things were just huge.
Yeah. I was also, before we got in, I was like living in my parents' basement. And it was just great to, actually join a community. And it can be very lonely being a founder, even when you do have community, because sometimes just your problems are so unique. But yeah, like there was just it really was life-changing, to be honest, joining ERA and just moving to New York City and becoming instantly my network increased by 100 times.
Have you maintained some of the community since you left the program?
Oh, totally. Yeah. We still work out of their office. Like we said, we had their holiday party last night and, hung out with all the alumni from the program. It's like a family, honestly. And so the community is still super close.
Yeah. And like the guy who runs the actual accelerator, Brian, is like one of our
best friends.
Yeah. Best friends.
and advisors.
And like, so, yeah. And shout out John and Murad as well, the founders of ERA and the rest of the
Where does a business like this go? Like, do you just grow and grow and grow, and then you think that somebody like an Apple incorporates you all into iOS, or is this something to where, where do you think the business can kind of go?
I think there's multiple paths. Like in terms of the exact exit opportunity, like there's so many different options. At the end of the day, like the way I think about it is, this is a multi-billion-dollar business if you do it right. And so really what we're focusing on is the customer and the user experience and the product, trusting that if we can solve this problem in a compelling, unique way that delights and surprises customers better than competitors, there's going to be a huge business, whether it's like acquired by Apple or acquired by, other health and wellness companies, or it's IPOing. I think there's like just so many opportunities there. That honestly, I don't spend too much time right now. I mean, at some point you probably do have to start building for the exit opportunity and understanding like, are you going to be acquired by a strategic buyer or IPO or whatever it is? But yeah, we're really just focusing on the customer and efficient distribution strategies
and solving the problem.
Yeah.
Because we really think like this is kind of the problem for our generation. And the awareness is really just starting to kick up right now, how horrible it is that we're all addicted to our phones. And maybe people like you, Taylor, they have a successful strategy. You can like limit 15 minutes a day on social media, but most of us, we're spending 6 hours a day wasting time on
more
things
than 6.
On stuff that we really just don't want to be doing. And the impacts of that are really more than we actually know, because it's not just the time that you lose. It rewires your brain to crave something like that all the time and not be able to just be content with your own thoughts. And it ruins your sleep. It touches every single aspect of your life. And we're just really focused on solving this as best as we can.
And if we can, then I think it's an entire new category that's being created. If we can be the category defining player in the space, massive business opportunity.
How do you see kind of the competition? And by this, I don't mean other apps. I guess like the competition is that somebody does nothing, right? The competition is that somebody just keeps using it for 6 hours a day and like, oh yeah, I know that's a problem, but they don't really want to take the steps to do it. So how do you kind of convince someone to want to make a change like this in their life?
It's interesting because
most people have tried to stop.
They've tried something, but at the end of the day, like, a lot of pushback we get is like, oh, humans are naturally, just want to take the path of least resistance. And that will be true for a lot of people. Like we still have an obesity epidemic in the US, knowing that like eating McDonald's every day is bad for you, but it's still one of the biggest corporations, out there. And people have a problem. And so I think it's understanding that you're not going to help everyone at the end of the day. But there are people who don't want to live this way. And I think the number, like the sheer number of people who already are trying to do something is just massive. And I think there's going to need to be more convincing over time. And I think that's a combination of creating awareness of the problem, but also creating a compelling solution. Like if you can make it easier to do this, I think most people don't solve it today because it's really freaking hard. It's almost impossible for most people. And like you have to really think through and create these like complex tricks like you were talking about, Taylor. Like that was just such a great story that you started with. Like it's so common. We hear that from everyone. And so it's a combination of awareness of the actual impacts. And then it's also creating a solution that actually works for people. Because if you can't solve the problem, like you just can't solve it.
So one of my best buddies, friend of Flavia's too, Jeff, he's like one of the best engineers that I know, and he works at a tech startup. And we were having this conversation because Jeff like really locks down his technology even before I did. And Jeff's like brilliant. And now I kind of see the world as Facebook has 10,000 Jeffs against me. Or Google has 10,000 Jeffs against me, right? And Jeff by himself could beat me, and now there's 10,000 of them against me. Is that the way? Is that the kind of framing? I know you kind of started the conversation with that this idea that they're almost outmanned, they're almost outgunned because they're playing these psychological tricks. They're playing these games, and I assume it almost, if we play this out 3-5 years from now, these companies are doing even more, right? It becomes even harder now. Or do you think that there'll be this awareness that you're talking about, and 3-5 years from now, there'll be more awareness that we're going to be better at these things?
So I don't think it's mutually exclusive. Like yes, basically it's going to be worse over time.
But that generates more demand for the solution.
But it's also just like any software, they're going to improve the addictiveness because they're going to optimize. They optimize for one thing. The time that you spend on your phone. Every free moment that you have, every free thought.
They're coming for it.
That you have in your head, they're going to come for that time. So it is getting worse. And if you try to just use self-control, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight. But I also think, so the problem is going to get worse and better at the same time. And I think, unfortunately, there's going to be kind of like a barbell distribution where like there's people who are really, really addicted and have a huge problem. And then there's people who are motivated to solve it and can actually conquer it. Because I really believe that this problem, it is solvable, like for individuals. It doesn't have the same level of addiction of like an actual drug addiction. It's more of a behavioral addiction. Like when we talk to, it's a really bad habit. It's a really, 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 really bad habit. And it's so ingrained in us, especially since like most people, like it started when you were 13, but it's not a chemical drug addiction and it can be solved. So long way of saying it is going to get worse. These products are going to get more addictive because that's all that they're trying to do. But I think over time, there's going to be less people who are just casually addicted.
I have a question. What apps do you use each day? If you exclude like email, social media, news, I'm just curious, what are like maybe some apps people don't know about that you use every day, healthy or unhealthy sort of habits? I'm just curious. And I'll go first while you guys are thinking about it. I use this app called Stoic, which every day is like a journal and meditation type, and I pay for it. maybe plus if there's something that you pay for. Because I guess my skepticism is there's not that many apps. I mean, like Stoic's one for me, but I can't think of another, maybe like a gym workout app that I use routinely and pay for. There's billions of apps, but I use, 3 every day. And it just seems,
Right.
even talking to our designer, like at one of the companies I'm involved with, the future's not apps. He's like, no, let's not do app. Let's do something, right? AI and text and calls and voice and all these things. So back to kind of what's an app that you pay for to use every day. I'm just curious if you can share.
I'll go and then I'll answer like it seems like the underlying question behind that too. One of my favorite apps is Audible, and I love listening to audiobooks. I pay for it. I pay for extra credits too to like get more and more books. But I think you're getting to something that is going to help us in comparison to other types of apps that help with healthy habits and stuff. With like the Stoic app, right? It's a journaling app, but with consumer apps, it's really hard to get people to stay for a long time and to form that habit. Because with a journaling app, you don't really need an app to have that habit. Maybe you start to learn how to journal and then you just do it in your own notebook or you do it on the Notes app. Same thing with like eating healthy, nutrition apps or workout apps. The thing about screen time is you're going to need an app.
Because it needs to integrate. Like that's where the problem is.
You need to meet people on their phone because that is where the problem is. And you don't even need to open us to use the app because we send you notifications about your screen time that people love. We set schedules that will automatically block your apps and stuff like that, where it's like it's ingrained in your already daily habits of using your phone. And so that's what's unique about the screen time problem is you need an app to stay off the other apps. At least that's what we believe.
And I would say like the app I use the most is our own because like we're our own users.
Yeah, that's true.
But actually like that's why we kept going with this when we released our MVP. We were like, holy shit,
it really worked for us.
It works.
Like legit, it's way better. It really worked.
And obviously it's not perfect yet, but like all of our friends use it as well. And so yeah, I am somewhat of a minimalist when it comes to using my phone. I know not everyone is like that, but I really don't. I use Audible, I guess, and Gmail. I feel like Gmail can be wrong, not wrong, but like I can have an unhealthy habit with Gmail as well. And that's what's so tough about this problem because things are ambiguous, right? Like what is good usage? What is bad usage? Like what is compulsory? And it's just something that we're figuring out over time. But yeah, I don't use a lot of apps to be honest.
What have you learned? I'll answer Flavia's question too. So for me, I use this app called Future. It's this like it's a fitness app, but it pairs you with a real like workout person with a trainer, and it's $200 a month. But he sends me workouts every day. I chat with him through the app, and then it connects your Apple Watch. It's like a very nice tech experience. I have no connection to them, but use my referral code and you get $50 off. I'm just curious, like what, we've talked about behavior changes. Like what have you all noticed? What have your friends noticed when you really focus on this problem? And when they start using the app and when they start thinking about these, I don't know what to call them restrictions, but when they start thinking of this new way of using their phone, using a tool like Present, what kind of outcomes have they seen? Like what are the changes that you all have seen or your friends have seen?
The single biggest thing, and we honestly didn't understand that this was going to be the outcome when we were first building it. Like we knew persuasive design can work for habit formation, all this stuff. But the big outcome difference that sets Present, like what we're building apart from like the app blockers, is that we consistently hear it becomes a constant awareness in the back of your mind when you're using your phone. Instead of randomly, you get like the
time limit
that comes up that you never think about until you're already doom scrolling. So this is something.
Every minute that you're on your phone with Present, you're losing points. So you're losing to your friends. So what it creates is a constant awareness of like, is every minute of screen time worth it? And humans are kind of simple creatures. We care about gamification. We care about beating our friends. We care about that little reward. We care about keeping that streak. And so it just creates this constant awareness of, is this time spent worth losing my streak?
And we have a lot of, like, I don't know if you want to talk about specific tactics. Like, there's a lot of specific learnings on what creates that. But I would say, like, from the highest level, like, that's like the biggest insight and learning of like why this works and how we want to just continue to like double down on that approach.
So as we wrap up, one last question is, what advice do you have for folks, maybe they're at EY or Google or just another company or consulting and thinking about starting a business? They maybe have multiple ideas. What?
Yes,
exactly. Just do it.
Honestly, the biggest thing I would say is everyone's different. And we are lucky in the sense that like we have a very stable household. I was able to move back in with my parents when I quit my job. So like, you know, everyone's situation is different. But what really helped me was writing down what is the single worst thing that could happen if you did, right? And for me, that was the business fails. I lose 2 to 3 years of income, and then I just go back to making a bunch of money at like Google or EY or wherever. And I figure out going, you know, and then what is the best outcome that can happen? Actually visualize like the positives from it. So
yeah, it's so easy to not think
through.
about the positives and only fear the negatives, but the upside is way more when you actually do something that you're passionate and love. So just do it.
And actually, like,
you're going to be afraid. It's going to be hard,
yeah.
But just do it anyway.
What do you spend all your extra time on now that you're not doom scrolling for 6 hours? And maybe related, where do you two get inspiration?
So one of the, like, before, when I was still addicted to my phone, specifically Twitter, I hadn't worked out in 3 years. I ate like shit. I drank, way too much alcohol. And what I was really able to do once I broke my phone addiction all that time was figure out how I wanted to spend my time and how I wanted to live my life. So I do a lot of different things now. Like I work out every single day. I cook all my meals. I spend way more time with friends. I actually have like the motivation to like get out there and do things with my life. Like even if it's like trivial things like going to a concert or like, going out to dinner with friends, like making the effort to actually make plans. I just think, there's so many things that I've filled my life with, since, it's not just the time, it's the mental headspace that you have. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you. And
I'm a musician, so I like to spend my free time playing music with my friends. And so, the phone definitely eats into that time. And also like, we're just have a much clearer headspace to be able to be more productive at work and put in more hours and have it not feel like we're burning out because, we don't have that constant anxiety of scrolling in the morning and wasting time and stuff.
I hadn't read a book since college, because I just didn't have like the focus or the like thought I didn't have the time. Now I read all the time. Like I just read a 500-page book in like 2 weeks. And that was pretty fast. That was unheard of. Like if you told me that 2 years ago, I would have been like, who the hell is that?
It opens up your whole life. We really think getting off your phone is the keystone habit that will unlock every other healthy habit in your life. That's what happened to us. So that's why we just are super passionate about this problem.
Wow. I'm writing that down. Keystone habit. That's good. All right. So as we wrap here, where can people find out more about you guys if they want to contact you directly and also more about the app?
If you want to contact us, just email us at jack@getpresentapp.com. You can like find us on our website, getpresentapp.com, or just search Present Screen Time Control in the App Store to download us. We're free. We have a paid version, obviously, but really what I want to leave people with, if there's one thing, is try it. Not just try our app, but try to solve this problem for yourself. It was the single best thing that has ever happened in my life.
And it's not as hard as you think.
It isn't. Like, it is really hard, but like you just have to think it through.
Jack, Charles, really appreciate you coming on Founder Secrets.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome for having us, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for rocking with the homies. Taylor, Trusty, and Flavio. Seize the day, own it. Until next time, hold it down, hold it down.